What's up, guys? My name's Mitchell. Welcome to my channel. Here on the channel we do everything outdoors: hunting, fishing, camping, traveling, RVs, all that kind of stuff. So today I'm here in my buddy Tim's wonderful shop, and he's made a recent purchase on some things that he can do to improve a new pickup truck that he got. He's got an F450, and he's done some research and some good products that'll help him with his truck and carrying heavy loads and towing things down the road. So I'm going to turn it over to Tim, let him explain kind of what he bought and why, and then we're going to show you guys kind of how to install it and what we're planning to do with it. So Tim?
Yeah, so if you're watching this video, you're probably somewhat familiar with these, but these are Centramatic wheel balancers. If you know anything about them, they've been running them on big rigs for years and years, but it's a pretty simple concept. You know, those big rigs, they're slinging weights constantly. They're constantly having issues with tires being out of balance. So in an effort to combat that and to make a smoother ride, these are constantly balancing the wheel and the tire as there's rotation. So in these tubes around the edge, they're full of silicone beads. And if you can hear that as you rotate the wheel, those silicone beads at speed, they get slung out to the place where it needs balancing. And so it's a constant rebalancer as long as you're moving at a certain speed. And so, like he said, I've got an F450 that's got some oversized wheels and tires on it, and was just running into issues with being able to keep those tires balanced properly. And so they make sets for the front and the rear. The front and the rear are different. This is the front set.
This will be the rear here.
And that's going to be the rear. On the front, it's real simple. You just undo your 10 lugs, take your tire off. We're going to slip this right over the hub, and then we're going to remount the wheel right back. So there's no tools needed, no anything like that. It's as simple as it comes. I will tell you, though, one thing that you may run into. So you'll see my truck in a minute, but I've got 24-inch fuel wheels on my truck. So I've got 24-inch wheels with 37-inch tires, and if you go on Centramatic's website and if you do any research, you're going to find that there's not a recommendation for these for a 24-inch wheel. So I reached out to Centramatic, I gave them a call, told them what application I was running, and they made a recommendation for this set. So the front set, this is a 422. The rear is a 423. And they did mention, when they asked me what type of wheels I was running, and I told them I was running fuels. And one of the things that you need to be looking for on a fuel wheel, specifically on the rear, the dualies, is some of those fuel dually rear wheels, they interlock. And so if you run into that where they're interlocking, you're not going to be able to run these on the rear. You're going to run these on the rear as well. So rather than just taking off the outside wheel and putting this on and reassembling the outside wheel, you would take both wheels off each side, put this in over the hub just like you would on the front, and then reattach your two wheels with it. I've got black wheels on my truck, and so we're going to be painting these black just so I don't have these silver things popping through the spokes, and so that it makes them less visible. So
This is the only color they come in?
It's the only color they come in. So when you order them, they're going to come. This is just a natural aluminum color, and then if you don't want them visible, if you're running aluminum wheels, if you're running chrome wheels, these may be okay. But for me, I've got black wheels, and so I want to try to keep them hidden as much as possible. So we're going to spray paint this. Bought some generic Rust-Oleum automotive enamel spray paint, and so we're going to give them a spray down, let them dry, and throw them on and see what we can tell.
Yeah, that'll make them look sweet. I've got a 350. It's a little older, but why did you go with Centramatic specifically and maybe not another brand?
Yeah, just researching it online. When you research it online, this is the name that is just resounding, comes up. Watching YouTube videos like maybe you guys are doing today, looking at the big rigs, these guys that are putting hundreds of thousands of miles a year on their truck, this is what they're running, and everybody seems to be pleased. You don't hear very many issues. I have heard of some issues where maybe they hit something, the tube gets penetrated, water leaks in, and it gets in those silicone beads, and those beads start to clump. But other than that, they're pretty maintenance free. So we'll see. I'm anxious to kind of see the difference. Right now I've got a slight shimmy in the rear and a little slight shimmy in the right passenger side and the front passenger side. So we'll throw these on and see if it remedies it.
Yeah, we'll take a test drive. We'll ride around. It'll be hard to capture on video, but we'll ride around, see what we notice, and we'll do a before and then an after to kind of compare and contrast. But anywho, YouTube's a resource. You've been doing your research. That's the reason hopefully you found this video. We both research a ton before we buy a piece of equipment or any gear like that. So hopefully this video is to help you out, and check out the build. All right, so we're in the truck, and we're gonna test it out before we install it, see how it does. Anecdotally, we're gonna kind of feel, engage, and see how the vibration is. But then also on my phone, which is gonna be sitting right here on the center console, I downloaded an app that calibrates using the gyro inside the phone, and it's gonna do like a graph, almost like a seismograph would for an earthquake, and it's gonna measure all the vibration in the truck, and it's gonna put it on a chart. So real time, we'll be able to see how much it vibrates and compare and contrast before and after. So about as good of a test as we can do. Hopefully it'll show some good results, so stay tuned. So Tim, you did a lot of research before you bought this truck, compared and contrasting a lot of different makes, a lot of different models, but even inside the Ford Super Duty series, you came from a 2017 250 6.7 with the 6 3/4 bed. You upgraded to the 450. A lot of people watching this might think, you know, why would you go to a 450 if you're not dealing in commercial, pulling huge trailers all the time with heavy equipment, or maybe like a dedicated boat for pulling a huge offshore boat? Why would you need the 450? Why not go either another 250 or even a single rear wheel 350, or at most maybe a dually 350? Why did you think that 450 was the best choice for you?
Yeah, so I mean, start with the 350 dually. If I was gonna do a 350, just to me, there's no comparison. The maneuverability, the turning radius of the 450 really is significantly better than that 350 is. So you've got that coming from a 250. My wife and I are looking at different fifth wheel campers and things like that, and when you look at payload that the 250 was rated for, man, it filters out a lot of them, especially if you're looking at toy haulers or anything like that. So for me, I wanted something with a little bit more capability so that we could get into a toy hauler potentially, and then for me it came down to a 350 single wheel or the 450. When you price them out, there's not a I mean, everything's relative, but there's not a substantial amount of difference in price between a 350 Platinum single wheel and a 450 Platinum 450, as long as you can buy them in MSRP. Now, that's a whole nother issue, kind of in the current environment that we're in. But
COVID.
Yeah, post-COVID issues. So, yeah, for me, the 450 made sense. Then, you know, the 8-foot bed certainly doesn't hurt. I went and picked up a piece of plywood this week at the at Home Depot, and man, it sure was nice just to be able to lay that piece of plywood at the back of the truck and not have it hanging out and strapping it down or anything like that. So, plus it just looks good. It's got a fat butt, which I'm kind of fond of, and those spread front axles make it where it maneuvers really good, and it looks good with the fender flares that Ford does from the factory. So.
Yeah, I like this body style much better than my 2012 body style with the rounded fender flares. I've got a 350 as well. It's a 2012, and it's a dually with an 8-foot bed, and it turns like a barge. It is so hard to turn. U-turns are terrible. It's not that easy to park. This 450 is much more maneuverable for that. A lot of people don't know this, but they automatically assume that just because it's got a 4 instead of a 3, that the 450 is like so much more capable on paper to like tow and have payload and all that. What they don't realize is that Ford had to keep the gross vehicle weight rating the same for the 450 and the 350, even though they rebuilt all the suspension components, all of the axles, all of the payload capacity on the 450 technically is larger and beefier. They had to keep the GVRW the same. And so on paper, for my math Nazis and my weight and regulation Nazis, technically a 450 on paper shows maybe a little bit less due to the weight of some of those components, but a 450 versus a 350 with the beefier suspension and the beefier components is going to be much better to handle heavier things. So in hindsight, had I known what I know now when I bought my 350, I would have come to the same conclusion as Tim and went with the 450, even if just for the turn radius. But we're gonna go ahead and get them installed. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. That's it.
That's it.
That's all it is.
That's all you do. Slide that on, bolt the tire back up, good to go.
That's way easier than I was thinking. All right, one down. And that's it. Let's go see how she drives. All right, back in the truck, round two. They're definitely noticeable at slower speeds, just driving through the neighborhood.
The sound is, yeah.
The sound, yes. But once you get up to speed, the centrifugal force should sling them all out. You shouldn't hear it going down the highway, just at slower speeds when there's no force on the beads. But we're gonna get to where we started before and gonna see if they make any of a difference. I can already feel a difference just from me just driving on this road earlier. I can feel that they're already starting to work and the truck's riding a little better. You might even be able to tell in the video, less bouncing around. But we're gonna put it on the seismograph tester there. Scientific is what they call it, and we'll see if we can't put some data down that's going to show that they actually do work. So Tim, these are 37s.
Yeah, they're 37 by 1350 by 24s. So they're 37 inches tall, 13 and a half wide, and it's a 24-inch wheel.
Yeah, it's a pretty big tire. Trying to manhandle it, trying to keep them balanced would be difficult. But again, I can already tell a difference. We're in a rural area on a back road. What little bit of bumping we're feeling is no longer the tire. It's just from a road that needs to be replaced. So we're going to get on a new highway that's been recently paved and do that same test.
I was going to say too, one of the things that a lot of guys do, especially, you know, you go drop several $1,000s on wheels. Some of these wheels now, whether you're getting, you know, JTX forged or a lot of these wheels, these high-end wheels, you can drop several $1,000s on a set of wheels. And you take them to your local tire shop, and they're throwing weights on them wherever they can throw weights on them, and when you go get them rebalanced, they're not necessarily paying attention to how they take those weights off, and so they're gouging them with a screwdriver to get them off. One of the benefits of these Centramatic wheel balancers is that you don't have to run any weights on your wheels at all if you don't want to. So mine do have weights because they were balanced previously, and I'm not going to take them off. But if you're in a situation where you're going and buying aftermarket wheels and tires for your truck, and you're dropping that kind of money on a set of wheels, these things may be the answer. I mean, you can buy a set of these depending on the size and the application that you're going. I ordered these off of Amazon, and they were less than $500 for the set. Well, at $40 a time, and it's probably more than that for a dually, but getting them balanced at $40 a time, and maybe they don't get it right, maybe they do get it right, and then when they do redo it, they're gouging your wheels, taking those wheels off, those weights off. It can pay for itself. And here we are, we're back out on this road, and we're up to speed at 65, and there is a noticeable difference. I don't know, it'll be interesting to see what the seismograph or whatever this thing's called, what it shows data-wise, but feeling in your seat and feeling in the steering wheel, that vibration, that shimmy is essentially gone. Yeah, I mean, what we're feeling now is just imperfections in the road at this point. So
yeah, it drives like it did the first day you got it, before you put several hundred or 1,000 miles on them, and now they kind of gotten out a little bit. It feels like it did when you first got it, right, after they had just been balanced and come off the line. So vastly better than what it was 45 minutes ago when we did this first test. Instant improvement. Going the same speed on the same road, started at the same time, so we should be able to see a little bit of a difference. If it doesn't show up on the graph, I can assure you it shows up in the feel and the finish and fit of how it rides. For a truck, with this lift and these tires, it rides a lot better for sure. I expected it to do better. I don't know that it's working better than I expected, even knowing that you had done your research and knowing they use these commercially. Yeah. This is better than I thought it would be. Yeah, I mean, we're 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes into the ride, and they're probably surpassing what I thought my expectations were. And it's easy. I mean, it's nothing to it, and it doesn't really matter, if your tire gets more and more out of balance, it just works more and more. It doesn't. There's no real end to it. There's no limits to it. And there's no way that if somebody hopped in, they wouldn't hear anything, they wouldn't feel anything different other than it would just be, it's smooth, but there's no way for a passenger or anybody else who hops in to realize that you've done anything different. No, and painting them black, I'm really pleased with how they look. You don't even see them behind the black wheel. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what the data shows, but I can tell you, regardless of what it shows, it feels tremendously better. I agree. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope this was helpful. Again, the whole point of this video was to help you guys learn. I use YouTube as a valuable resource. We're constantly learning and growing every single day, and I am not the repository of information. I learn from Tim, I learn from you guys, I learn from everyone who takes the time to make these videos. And so if you've been researching these, if you've been curious about them, I hope you found this video helpful. I hope it was worth your watch. Thumbs up if you liked it. Maybe subscribe if you think it's worth your time, but appreciate you watching. Till next time, take care. God bless.